Mike Bobo is a little bit of a polarizing figure in the world of Georgia football. And I get it, but I also don't. Like, I understand the frustration around Mike Bobo in the sense that last year you rolled into the season with allegedly the top quarterback in college football in Carson Beck. You were supposed to be the team that won the national title, and all those things are true. And also just like the logo that it is with Kirby Smart as your head coach, like you're supposed to win the national title every single year. That is their expectation. That's pressure. It's also privilege, which is a bit of a cliche, but it fits here. And when you look at last year, if you were to take a poll of Georgia fans, I think a lot of them would, when they would talk about what went wrong a season ago, there would be a sentence in there about Mike Bobo and what he did not do. And so one of the takes that y'all threw at us over on the Twitter sphere was, hey, Georgia fans, I will die on this hill. They're going to complain about Mike Bobo. Their words, not ours. And so I got to thinking about this, and I think there's a lot here. Like, I think you can have a percentage of the blame divvied up towards Mike Bobo without it being a Mike Bobo problem. Do we align there? Like, again, I told you I understand all the frustrations. But at the same time, how much are you going to blame Mike Bobo for the drops, for the Carson Beck interceptions, for not getting a push up front on the offensive line in the first time in what feels like, decades? To me, I think the Mike Bobo complaints comes from a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I want to backtrack a little bit here. Todd Monken, former OC at Georgia, takes a job in the NFL. Mike Bobo is then named the OC. When that happened, there was a very visible response from portions of the Georgia fan base saying, oh my gosh, eye roll, can't believe this, not a fan of this, not big on this hire. And kind of made a mental note of that. Okay, got it. That's how they feel. Move forward into last season. You play for the SEC championship. Carson Beck looks awesome. Again, this is 2 seasons ago. And Brock Bowers is a bionicle. Like, you do great things offensively. Okay, got it. Check. Move to the next season. This past season wasn't the season you wanted to have, and Mike Bobo is getting a lot of blame. I think it's a little bit less about how much blame is actually designated to Mike Bobo. In reality, I think it's a lot more about the self-fulfilling prophecy of Mike Bobo not being the offensive coordinator that Georgia fans maybe wanted from the jump in this thing. That's just my feel on it. So when we talk about the actual blame that needs to be designated, I'm not here to tell you that Mike Bobo called a perfect season. By no stretch of the imagination. There's absolutely games where you look at Mike Bobo and say, is that really our best play call? Or are we sure it's going to take us this long to get rolling against Georgia Tech? Or why does it take a first half, us getting embarrassed against Alabama, to figure it out in the second half and go make this a close game in the fourth? Like, why is that the world we're living in? I hear what you're saying. But to me, I look at this thing at a broad strokes perspective, look at just the reality of what last year was. Georgia just wasn't as good as they've been. And this is coming from somebody that picked Georgia to win the national title before last season. I thought they would roll. I thought they'd be a team that found a way to go all the way and get it done, and that wasn't the case. Some of that's on Carson Beck, sure. I don't think you could have predicted the receiver room leads the country in drops. Losing Brock Bowers, it hurt. I don't think we all knew how bad it would hurt. Losing McConkey, no Cedric Van Prant. Like, there was a lot of things that Georgia lost from last season that they didn't replace the way that a lot of us anticipated that they would. And so when you talk about like Mike Bobo, and again, going back to his blame, I look at the offense last year and I say, okay, led America in drops. Got it. A quarterback who was tied for the lead in the conference in interceptions. Got it. A running game that was ranked in the hundreds when it came to yards per game. So no real ground presence, which maybe leads into the Carson Beck interception deal. I don't know. All that's the case. Still scored 30 points a game. Still won the SEC. I'm not telling you it's all on Mike Bobo, but I don't think Mike Bobo is the one to be given all the blame either when things weren't going well. There's something to be said, too, for just finding a way, man. Working with what you got, adapting in the context of a 4-quarter game on a Saturday, you just find a way. It wasn't always pretty, it wasn't always perfect, but give Georgia credit with what they had on the roster. They found a way. With what they had, they found a way. And so in 2025 now, how they use some of these new ingredients is what I think Mike Bobo should maybe be assessed by. Because last year was last year, and you're bringing Carson Beck and all those things. You're kind of wiping the slate clean in a lot of ways with what you have on offense. 41% production is returning from last year's team that won the SEC on offense. Okay, that's good for 108th in America. We are now at 136 FBS teams. So shout out to Bill Connolly for those numbers. Great coordinators just find a way to make it work. Like it came out the other day, Steve Sarkisian is calling an offense for Quinn Ewers with a torn oblique. You just make it work. We're all sitting here saying, why is Texas running the football that way? Why aren't they explosive? Why aren't they this? Why aren't they that? Because your quarterback can barely do a Russian twist, man. That's why you're not throwing the football downfield, and Quinn Ewers has his own blame. It's not a Texas segment, but Sark found a way to make it work. Every year, it feels like Lane Kiffin finds a way to make it work. For Mike Bobo, with a Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas, a Gunnar Stockton, it's going to be a different format now. I still think you want to throw the football downfield, but it's going to be a different kind of offense. Can you find a way to make it work in 2025? I think he can. To what degree, we'll see, but I think he can. And Brooks Austin, friend of the program, does great work over there on the Film Guy Network. He made this point, and I 100% agree. At some point, you got to trust Kirby Smart, right? At some point, if you are having an issue with the assistant coach of what your football team is, you got to look to the guy who's hired that assistant coach, right? So I would ask the question, do you trust Kirby Smart that he has the best staff he can possibly assemble for Georgia to win football games? Because I think that's all that matters to Kirby Smart. If the answer is no, I would say you're dumb. It's not me saying you're a dumb person. I think that's a dumb thought. Won 2 of the last 4 national titles, just won the SEC. Kirby Smart knows what he's doing. If your answer is yes, then I say, okay, there is some part of me now that is seceding control, that I may not know everything in the inner workings of Georgia and the exact play call and how they wanted it to look, and I'm just going to say, hey, Kirby Smart, I don't know how it all works, but I trust him. I trust him. And I think that, quite frankly, Kirby Smart has earned that much. So does Mike Bobo have some blame? Of course. Is he the problem? Does he need to leave town for Georgia to win national titles again? Absolutely not. That is not the case. Just thought it'd be a good time for us to kind of have an alignment on that, because I've seen that bubble up a little bit more across the college football media space. Just a lot to be made about Georgia and what they didn't do last year. All they did was win the SEC, and now we're talking about Georgia and have they fallen back to earth? No, Kirby Smart, I'm telling you, as long as he's the head coach out there, they're going to be in good shape.